Computer. Lights. Good morning, folks. Happy Thursday. We have sort of what's a rarity today. We're going to be working actually in Bellatrix Rising, which is kind of cool. But I wanted to do some work on the deck plans for the Kittiwake. So today we're going to work on the Kittiwake. So might as well jump right into it because I've got paints on the table back there. So we're going to jump right into it. So I'm working on the FS Kittiwake. I have an actual top-down view of her, and I took the 3D model and I sliced through it with a semi-translucent blue bar at the deck levels to show me where the decks all go through, to get an idea of where all these decks would be extended through and how far forward would they go. There are 4 decks on a standard Corvette. A deck is up here on the very top edge. It's got all of its sensor equipment and everything that we'll have to draw in a minute here. B deck then is administration, and that includes the bridge, the officers. I'll give you a tour here in a bit. C deck then is enlisted and VIP, and then D deck is Marines. So that's how kind of we load this out and how this kind of works. This is just the living space of the ships. It's not actually like anything other than that. So we're going to just work on this. Today, I did a build out with this using the old FASA game assets, just so I can get an idea of where things go. And now I'm going to make a new version of this once I'm sure I have everything I need. So we're going to go through today and just make sure everything's labeled properly and all that stuff, and then redraw this deck plan in a much more concise way. So that's what we're doing today. So we're going to go ahead and move in here. And since I'm going to redraw this, we're going to start all the way from 4 and go aft on B deck. I'll grab myself a nice, decent pen here. I actually like these comic inks, right? Maybe not. Hard round. Let's just take a hard round. And we're going to go all the way down to, say, 5.7 point here. All right. So this is sick bay. And these are on map pieces that are beyond. So we're going to add a new layer right here. I want to call this labels. Okay. And up here, all right. Right. Surgery. Right. And then this is officer's mess. Right, and move on down. Moving aft, we have the administration offices. So this is XO. And this is CTO, Chief Tactical Officer. Chief Flight Officer. And this is probably an S2. No. Yeah, probably an S2. Maybe an S4. Okay. Moving back. Here is the transit tube. If you've been with me before when we've worked on this ship, you'll know that the transit tube, because this is a small ship with only 4 decks, the transit tube is actually just a big tube that goes the length of the ship crossways, right? Right. And then CO's quarters. Maybe we can go smaller than this guy. There we go. And here we got shuttle launch control. And this is the shuttle high bay. Now, we have we've got a lot of room here, right? We got about 4 or 5 meters between this wall and the outer wall. But if you look at where we've got kind of the ceiling of this, it's a very steep curve from here to here, right? And more importantly, it seems to dip down right here. All right, so we're going to have to make sure that we trim the deck back for that. So we're going to go ahead and take that. And trim it down so that we know that we don't have the room back there to do stuff. All right. CO's quarters puts us right here on this window. You've got a window right outside the CO's quarters. That's got to be, a safety hazard. So there's that. Always something interesting going on. Making sure I've got music. I do. So I'll have to think of something to do in these empty spaces on either side, but there's a couple of big things that I wanted to do before we get to that point. Okay. Want to make sure I have everything labeled correctly before we go through all of this. So still on labels. And this is the cockpit. Right? This is gravity. And over here, this is sensor and tactical. Moving aft, we have a head. And then we have right here, enlisted. Right. That's the same through here. Right. And then we have officers. And this is VIP. This is VIP. And these are crew showers right here. Moving back, we have the aft head. And then over here, it's crew mess. And then here is rec room. Moving back, this is mass storage. And this is environmental. Over here is a machine shop. Parts. Over here, storage. Also parts. Okay, and then of course this is the shuttle bay. And this is memory core. Right here. And they probably have the entire sum of human existence in there. 1,000 years from now, memory core is certainly not going to be stored on chips this big. It'll be stored on chips this big. But it's also probably not a massive 6-meter long box of chips stuck in there. I'm sure it's just a box of chips about this big with a huge armor-plated EMP-safe box around it so that it can't be zapped, which I would do if I were in charge. All right, here's where things get a little weird and hairy and why I want to work on stuff today, because I feel like I have room through here for a cargo bay on D, in between the landing gear struts. And I've been realizing that I don't have any cargo space at all for anything. And just looking at this angle up here, this is the side view, and you've got the hull going through like this. It goes from here, if you were to look at it, it goes like this. So it's not that steep. By this point, it's still a good 1.5 meters high at this point in the cargo bay. So I was like, I'm wasting the space here for this. What really needs to make sure I clear is the shuttle bay, because the shuttle bay will drop down. There isn't an actual Starfleet Type F shuttle, obviously, in this ship. What they have is they have the spidery critter that I have shown before. So really the shuttle bay is only this thick, and this is a docking ring with a door that goes through, and the GPV is attached to the bottom like this, sitting upward. So it faces the top of the ship, and when it deploys, it just deploys and then can take off and then go down to the surface. GPVs then have all it needs is a docking ring that extends out far enough that the GPV's legs aren't in the way. And then it just attaches to the GPV's standard docking coupling on the bottom of the ship, on the bottom of the vessel. So anyway, so we need to make sure we're clear for the GPV, but this, I think, is big enough to say cargo. Right? You need to put that in labels. There we go. So now we have a cargo bay in the back. Internally, though, how do I get to it? That's where we have to start labeling things in the Marines land here. Okay. So this is an armory. This is an armory. This is the forward door. It's the forward landing ramp, which extends down. This is an armory. Right. Marine showers. Give them their own brig. Marines. So we get 8 Marines, and this is the Marine CO. So we'll have 9 total Marines on board. And this is where I think we would have mech storage. I feel like that's what these guys are, is mecha storage for power suits. I mean, because the mecha storage then could actually have doors in the undercarriage of the ship, which drop open to allow the mecha to exit, depending on the size of the mecha. If it's just power suits, then it can hold power suit size. A larger mecha would have to go in the cargo bay in the back. Something the size of a Gundam or something like that would have to be markedly differently located. This is not a big enough ship to hold a Gundam-sized mecha. All right. The reason I'm stopping here is to contemplate this design and make sure that everything is where I want it to be. So this square indicates 5 meters. These are 1 meter squares on a grid. I have that grid right here, so we can bring that grid back up, which is good because we're going to have to redraw this. Right. And I really need to make this grid small enough that it's 1 meter grid. But I feel like that would be unpleasant. Instead, we have 2 meter, which that's fine. These are 2 meter by 2 meter square, which is good because that's 1 human, give or take. But it also means these beds are huge. Well, no, I guess they're not, because they're not fully up against the wall. They've got a headboard, and they extend just slightly past 2 meters. So, a human's about 2 meters, just slightly a little above or below. So, if you were to look, we could put a human being, lay them down. Right, so they'd fit in a corridor like that. So that's our 2 scale unit. There we go. And this is a leading edge out here, so it doesn't work in here. But this does make me change my model slightly on the ship, because I kind of feel like I need a window right here for the VIPs on either side, which puts there needs to be a C deck, that's you, a C deck window right on this line right here, which is just another thing we need to do. So we'll get there. Actually, it needs to be like right here. Right, there's a C deck portal right there. So we'll need to put that in so that the VIPs can look out into space, because VIPs, ooh, it's funnier that way. All right. So okay, so now we're on step 2. We'll take this grid right here and we'll duplicate it. That's not what I want to do. We'll duplicate it. That's what I want to do. And with this grid, then we will take and duplicate this guy, because he's just a whiteout. And we'll put him right under the grid like that, so that the grid's over it. Okay, and then we're going to take these labels, I'm going to drop them down just a little so that they don't confuse me. Okay, then on top of this labels layer, I'm going to make a new layer, and this is going to be new deck blend. I've made some important errors that I kind of want to correct, some shape problems, some shape differences that I want to make sure are not the same up here. So this is our new deck plans. We're going to come in here and we'll start on D deck, because it's the one that I like. No, it's not really the one I like. It's the one that's here. And the truth is, when we look at this undercarriage door, the door that's right here in the forward portion of the undercarriage, this section here and this section here folds out like this. The door is shaped like this and comes down, but the way that it works in the hull, there's the indentation underneath there is kind of like this. So we could probably extend the armory to at least there, right? So we're going to do this. No, we're not going to do that. Why is this not absolute black? Here we go. Now, of course, I can hold with the shift key, and that gives me a link like that, but I don't have my keyboards to my right, not my left. So this is right click over here. That's Alt. Yeah, I don't have shift. It's kind of a bummer. Oh, so we'll just do this, and then this. And what we're doing is undo is doing it wrong. We're going to uniform it. So outside hull is 8. Anything that's to space is going to be 8. So there we go. We'll come back and sort of fix that in a minute. Yes, it does. It does indeed change from human to alien. And that's the thing is, we have to be able to hold all of my weird little aliens on here too. The Jessine aren't that big, but they don't breathe our atmosphere. So there is sort of that problem. They don't take up much space. It's not like they're only about this big. But they live at an atmosphere that is really high. So this is not going equally, I'm noticing, not going quietly into the night. It's not going equal. So I see this line back here being less aligned with this, and I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go to there. And then go aft to this point. Aft to this point. There we go. And that's sort of the thing that I'm worried about is that, here I'm trying to kind of get an idea of where everything lives in here. I feel like since this is a cargo bay, it probably has a space wall inside it to protect the interior occupants. Kind of like this shape that we've got going, but I thought maybe what I might do is move the marine CO over and then put a space wall here and here and there, which means that even though it's off center, it puts a mecha bay here, which can then have a space door there, which allows us to get through. But you can either park things in the cargo bay, or you can park mecha in the cargo bay and just fill it up with mecha, which would be fine too. But that's our space wall for deck D. And we'll go back up here. We'll clean up this guy right there. So one of the things we will do here is work on the kittiwake, which I can show you what she looks like. She looks like this. So this is the ship we're working on currently. This isn't the kittiwake. This is the Seagull, and the Seagull is 241. The kittiwake is 510. But I've made a 3D model of her so that all I have to do is render her, and she renders just like this. This is the way it renders straight out of the 3D program, because I mapped the 3D model with lines and things like that. So it would look kind of cool whenever we did that. So we're going to be working on kind of trying to get all of this squared away. We've got the deck plans. I've rendered the model here, and it's under here. You can see her there. And we're just redoing the deck plans here because we want to kind of get this accurate. So let's go on ahead and move up to C deck, which is this guy right here. There we go. And we'll put in the flight cockpit. Now, all ships in the Bellatrix Rising universe have to fly in hyperspace, and the system that they use is very similar to current airline pilots. And the world is relatively similar to the world of right. Right? Me too. Me too. I mean, that's the thing I'm kind of looking to explore. So I know that one of the things I'm really after with Bellatrix Rising is that it's my version of Star Trek. I used to do a web comic called Tamerlane, which was a comic about a destroyer, which in the TOS era, the original series era of Star Trek, the single saucer with just one warp nacelle underneath it. Because I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to talk a little bit about the people you don't hear about in Star Trek, the unsung heroes, those guys that are constantly sort of tootling around and policing the Federation or doing little things like that. So I wrote this comic, and I wrote some 300 pages on it. And my dad one day I was sitting with my dad, and he's like, you put 300 pages in on this and you can't sell it. He's like, so why don't you write your own story? And I said, I've already got 12 or 13 more Tamerlane comics in the wings. And he's like, well, you don't have to write Tamerlane. You can just write, Boogity Bop. It doesn't matter. Just change the ship, change your uniforms, and write the same stories. And then Orville came out, and I was like, see, I always think that Seth MacFarlane is sort of like who I would have been if I had been on the right path. He started in animation. He did animation stuff, but he's an epic Trekkie, and now he's making his own Star Trek, and I'm sitting there like, that's way cool. I love the new Star Treks, and I love Orville, and I'm happy with the whole 9 yards. I've got far more than enough Star Trek-esque stuff to watch to last a lifetime for me. Or maybe not, because I'm that kind of Trekkie, but still. Yeah. Yeah, they do. And there are a lot of nods in it that I love. Lower Decks is definitely one of my favorites. I didn't think I would like it. I am a notorious animation snob. I have a degree in animation, and so I am a major snob when it comes to animation. And so I was afraid I was going to hate Lower Decks, and ended up liking it. I was surprised. I was duly surprised. So I didn't think I would enjoy Lower Decks, but I did. And that was a thing. So we obviously have decided to shift the interior deck plans like this to an armor plating. I actually remember why this does this. The canter of the outside of the hull right here is such that at this point in the hull, it's only a half a meter at best high. in there. And so it rises up to 2 meters to this point. But here it's only a half a meter. And so the canter is way too low. So you either have a hallway that kind of does this and you just never walk in this part, or you just cut there and put your hallway and then put conduit and power lines and things you need out there. Maybe things that need to be refrigerated. The canter changes to here. So I feel like by this point, you can have a legitimate room. So there we go. And we'll move back to the rec room. And go aft to the launch bay. As I was saying, the launch bay currently has a Type F shuttlecraft in it, but only because I needed to make sure I had the right scale going on. The real thing that they use in Bellatrix Rising is what we call a GPV, General Purpose Vehicle. And that's what the GPV looks like. And it's an all-purpose mode mech. It can fold the legs down, run on the wheels. It can stand on its legs and crawl around. It can fly like a shuttlecraft. So the GPVs do, obviously GPV is General Purpose Vehicle. So we have a GPV that is docked where this shuttle is. And we'll fix that here in a second because we've got to fix the space bay. But the GPV is 2.5 meters tall and sits like a T in the back, so facing upward. So we've got to make sure, A, we have enough distance going between the decks to hold the GPV, and because it's not 2 meters long, it's going to be closer to the shuttlecraft, which is 2, 4, 7 meters, 7 maybe 80 meters long. So if it's 8 meters long, it's sitting on that back T on the mount, but it's about 4 meters high. So we really only need to put the docking array right here. The reason I'm saying all of this is I'm thinking it out as I start to draw this, because it's going to be right here, right? Because that's the docking array. Because these are space walls. So we want to make sure that in our deck plans, we indicate properly the space walls. All right. The thing is that once I decided I was going to do my own version of Star Trek, I realized I could just do all the things I love. So I love mecha. I think mecha are awesome. So we're going to have mecha in my story, because why not? If you've got the ability to do all of the various things that you want to do in a story, I'm a big fan of Macross, which is a series from a Japanese animation series from a long, long time ago in the 80s, back when we were all young, which is not today. Anyway, and check that. Okay, they match. Good. And so I have been a big fan of mecha since Macross, and of course got into Gundam and all of those things as well. So there's that. This is, by the way, a corridor which only happens in spacecraft. It's a ladder going this way with a gravity going this way. Because it's artificial gravity. There's no reason not to have it that way. You get a transfer pad right here, and you can alter your gravity. So you're walking along and you come up to what looks like a Jeffries tube in Star Trek, but it's very thin because this is a wing up here. And so it's this like claustrophobic tunnel, and you crawl onto the pad on your hands and knees. And then once you're on the pad, the gravity changes. So you grab the ladder and you just start climbing up the ladder. And as you start climbing, your sense of gravity changes until you get out here. Although, frankly, you could just crawl, I guess. And these people are going to be military people, so it's not like they're going to be out of shape or anything. So, all right. Let's go back here to the contact zone for this, because it is important that we put in the docking array, which will stand out like this. And what's going to happen with this docking array is that it's going to have an even smaller, like, connector. Right. And I feel like Starship Troopers did a better job in the actual books than we did in the movie, which was part of the reason why I was so disappointed by that movie. I just really was. I wish that movie had been... It missed a lot of important things. You got Private Rico should have just been in power armor the entire time, and instead they stuck him out fighting bugs with just a gun. I'm like, I think you missed the power armor part. And they probably legitimately were saying that was too expensive, and I get it. But I mean, Aliens had a power loader, which is totally what I'm thinking, people in the future would start using mecha for, right? I had this thought of a scene, which I'm going to draw. But the first issue of this comic starts out with the captain of the ship talking to her old AI. The AI has been promoted and has been transferred to a destroyer. So that AI has moved to this big destroyer. And so she's, Captain Chang is going to get a new AI, and that's part of our sort of where we come in the entry of the story, She's having a talk with that AI, and the AI is like, see you later. It was good working with you, yada, yada, yada. Next scene. Then they're sent on mission, and she's walking across the landing bay to the kittiwake when the destroyer departs. That destroyer departs. And I had this thought of like huge mecha standing next to the destroyer, signaling to depart and, ready to grab the ship if something goes wrong. They can literally just reach out and grab the ship and move it to the right spot. Massive Titan-like mecha. And I was like, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't do that. It'd be really easy if you've got the ability to transmit from your brain to hands of some sort, and we're almost there today. This is 1,000 years in the future. Yeah, Battletech's been around forever, but Battletech stole from Macross. I'm just saying. That's been an old a geek war, if you will, for years and years and years. Battletech versus Macross. Because the old Battletech mechs were from I have to move this down one if I wanted to. I'm thinking out loud because I could really put this shuttle high bay here. Sorry, I got distracted. Battletech mechs like the Phoenix Hawk, the Wasp. Gosh, I can't remember the names anymore. To be fair, it's been 30 years, so you know. But it was the Wasp, the Phoenix Hawk. The Phoenix Hawk was a Valkyrie from Macross, literally in super armor with a fast pack on the back. And so the Wasp was a Phoenix, or was a Valkyrie without the super armor. Then they had, it wasn't the Locust. The Locust was cool. That was an original Battletech design that I really liked. I liked the Locust. But I know that they had a Zentradi Officer's Battle Pod in there, which the OBP became something else, and I can't remember what it was called. I am a Macross nut even today. So I've watched, I was watching Macross last week. So, you know, I know my Macross much better than I know my Battletech. Not like that means much. I don't know why. I think that, you know, makes a point to what you were saying, because I think your argument is absolutely true. That the West has sort of, but a friend of mine in Japan, we were talking at one point in time about because he's a big fan of anime, and specifically he's a big fan of the robot anime, you know, Big O, Gigantor, Mazinger, that whole era. He's about my age, not very worldly. He was a farmer, and a wonderful guy. I loved him, Manaka-san. And he and I were talking one day on our way to being more cultured, because we were both in the same Kyudo dojo. And we were talking about this, and what he was saying was that he believed that the difference was that all of Western media, specifically American media, portray robots as out of control or mean or destructive. You know, you have the Terminators, and you have, you know, all of that sort of thing. Even the bad guys in Aliens were in the Alien. You know, Ash was a traitor. Bishop was portrayed as scary for a while, and stuff like that. You know, we have a natural distrust of robots and computers. And he said that makes all the difference. He said in Japan, their culture, the computers are always friendly, and the shows show them as friendly. Tetsuo and Atom, what we called Astro Boy here, you know, that it was a very different feel. He helped everybody. He was a superhero. So it was kind of, I agree with him on that. I can see what his argument was on that. I think he's right. That's why, since Japan influenced almost all of Eastern culture, and we influenced the Western culture quite heavily, I could see what he's trying to kind of get to on that, and I think he's right. So that's my thought process on this. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. We are going to hear. But even when we run mecha in our world, it's always, he had said, what did he say? He called it caterpillar mecha. Because what he meant was our mecha are always like caterpillars, you know, like the backhoe equipment. And it's, you know, you get in, and you flip a whole bunch of switches, and it goes, and it shakes and there's smoke everywhere and all the joints go, you know, we always make our mecha in this loud, like, I don't know, getting all self-conscious about this, but that's sort of the way he had said we were caterpillar mecha, and I thought that was fascinating, a fascinating comment on it. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, you know, more like Caterpillar. Like, it was built by Caterpillar. John Deere. Man, John Deere mecha. Which I agree. And I like Eastern mecha better. They're more elegant. I feel like that's much more of an elegant thing. I have scraped my elbow. I'm sorry. Anyway. The one thing I did notice here was, here again, we've got another canter issue going on this top part, heading forward to right here. But even though it canters down to, you know, probably a half a meter high right here, we still can use a good portion of this space for storage, especially for medical. We'd have to put a space door here. But I feel like this can be forward medical storage. But yeah, Pat labor is a great. Yeah. Did you see that they actually built like a labor and stuck it on the back of a trailer in Japan, and then just drove it around the streets? That was so cool. It's like, only in Japan would you drive around with a labor. Just because you were. That seemed like a thing. So. And I agree. You know, you get elegant mechs over here from time to time as well. Can't really think of any, except maybe Eve from Wall-E. She was pretty elegant. We get like elegant pseudo mechs. We don't get kind of the Evangelion sword fighting, you know, with the spear Longines to throw and, you know, that kind of stuff. Because Ava, of course, is an entire universe in and of itself. Ava is Ava. I'm going to do the same thing here. We have enough space in the front, up front here, before it drops down to below 1.5 meters, where I'm going to put in storage. This part up here is all radar equipment. It's the hump on the back of the ship. When we look at the Corvette, that's this deck right up here. It's just this hump. And the truth is that that's mission adaptive. So it can be set. That's why it's got a hard line there. You can release the clamps and pull that entire hump off and put a different one on for mission adaptive things, including one which has sort of a T-bar radar dome sort of thing that sits on top, so that you can do whatever you need to do. These ships are general purpose ships, and that's their primary use. So we use them for whatever we need them for. In the Unity. Oh, man. I tend to use a lot of military acronyms. So if I lose you, just tell me. You may know a lot of the military acronyms and it won't be a problem. But if you don't, just ask. I am more than willing to explain things like mission adaptive and stuff like that. I feel like it's why is this off? And it should be here, I think. Right? It's like every level is slightly off. I'm not sure what that means. There we go. Yeah. Absolutely love Pet Labor, though. What a good series. There were a lot of things cool. Excellent. My genre, the genre I just absolutely love is sci-fi military. Honor Harrington, that kind of world. I really love the sci-fi military thing. So I tend to get carried away because, of course, this is my comic. I can do this any way I want. The way I have decided to do this, sci-fi military with mecha, and they're going to be elegant. And fleets of spaceships. And the whole story will be told from this little guy. So deck A doesn't actually go all the way back on this, and I'm not sure why I did that. So I'm going to go on ahead and do that. I'm going to extend all the way aft. Although there's a door in here which indents, so I'm going to depict that for the after doors that open for the GPV. So we'll do that, and then we'll kill the line that I shouldn't have put in here in the first place. Who knows? It's all right. We'll get rid of it. It'll be fine. There we go. There we go. So A deck now extends further than it did before. It goes forward to this little like storage unit on the front. As also mission adaptive, this section of A deck can also have weapons in it, although it usually isn't. The weapons are kept in the wings. And the primary reason for that is you can take a hit in the wings and just eject a wing. It's a spaceship. It doesn't need that, but it does need the engine pods. So once you eject the wing, you're still maneuverable in real space. You won't be able to jump to hyperspace without those engines, though. So you'll need to be rescued or whatever needs to happen. But you could put some kind of special mission adaptive thing in this upper bay. I'm feeling like it's off center. Everything's off center. I'm not sure why. So.
It's time to take a quick break.
It's time to take a quick break. So we'll save. Shake the hands out. Turn the ring camera on. And that means. So I've set my Alexa to do different timing setups. And right now at the hour mark, we all stand up. Oh my goodness. We stand up and we stretch. Then we walk around. We walk around real quick, give it a little bit of a walk. I like to go over to my window over here and look outside. See what kind of trouble the outside's into. I have a sliding glass door here. So I do that. decks. And that way they're all together. Right? Pop the back. There we go. Shake up the hands. All right. Okay, back to work for us. Urrate. Space hardened areas will also be in here on the bridge. So on B deck, I'm actually going to go on ahead and use this larger ink tool to indicate the bridge because it's going to be space hardened naturally. So we're going to use the bigger ink to indicate that. The bridge on this ship is 2 decks high to some degree. It doesn't show here. I put the standard Star Trek bridge in here because I was just trying to be quick about all of this. But it extends up into A deck right over here. You can kind of see right here we've got a hole forming for the second story A deck. And so what we're going to do is we're going to need to make sure that A deck has a room, so to speak. So we're going to put a structural support right here and here so that these two sides are connected. And effectively what we're building is a room here. Maybe on the other side of the transfer tunnel. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this and get it all lined up. There. Since the Seagull class Corvette is a 2-deck bridge on this, what we're essentially showing is that this is the mission adaptive section that is raisable and removable. And then this is just the bridge that's A deck. There's nothing on A deck but this little section right there. The rest of it is completely used for some other thing. You can enter into this section through here, and it's very tight right there and very tight right there. So probably what I will do is put an exit here and an exit there. But I want to make sure I can keep A deck over the bridge and be able to have the dome inside there. So the bridge has a dome, and it's that way when the captain wants tactical information, she can bring up the tactical display across her dome in the bridge and be able to see literally every ship in the area with her. And so the bridge has this dome-ish thing, but that pops up into A deck, so it goes over that. Then the bridge has this secondary sort of overlook, and that's where the tactical is right there. So the tactical officer sits up at the top on this deck. So there's like a catwalk that goes into the back of the bridge. So you get this extension on the top, a little bump. And around the bump, they just put the rest of that A deck on it. That works. All right. I've moved the shuttle high bay down. So what we're going to do Just not mess with that right now. Okay, now I feel like we've done all the space tight sections of the ship that need to be solidly space tight. So we're going to next put in all the interior lines. So that'll work. So let's drop our brush, our line, down from 8 point to half 4 point. At the 4 point level, we'll go back down, I guess, to D deck. And we'll start right up here with the armory. This area up here gets kind of confusing, so I still don't like that. Maybe I want 3. I want it to be distinct. I want you to be able to see we're not on space normal walls interior here. There we go. So these are, I don't like that. Let's undo, because this is the forward loading ramp right here. So let's just make these armories go like this. The Marines live on D deck, so there's going to be like a ton of armories here. Because it's Marines. And here are the Marine showers. And we'll worry about these guys in a minute. Undo. We will straighten them out, because they were not straight before. Marines care less about privacy even than anybody else. So there's no door. You just walk into the showers. Just get in the shower. Marine showers. There we go. Then we'll move back to the brig on either side. There are 4 brig cells. We'll actually move that all the way back to here. And these are the barracks. I'm sure that the Marines make more than enough jokes about the fact that their barracks are effectively on the brig. So I can only imagine how much griping they've got for the fact that their barracks are in the brig. There we go. So we've got the Marine head, which is right here. And I'm just going to go on ahead and line this stuff up correctly. These squares are 2 meters square. So when we talk about these bathrooms, it's not like they're really big. They aren't. Because they're 2 meters really pretty much this way. So that's tight. Tight enough that I may actually kind of ponder whether I could put sinks in there. I don't know. We'll have to see. It's 2 meters. That's pretty tight. So anyway, it's a thought process. And then the CO will live over here. This is the Marine CO. And of course, I'm modeling my entire story after U.S. Army and U.S. Navy and U.S. Marines and stuff like that. So the thought process here, of course, is that the Marine CO is sort of either equal to the ship CO most of the time or something. So he or she would be, the forward landing ramp is here, which the doors slide to the side or unseal or something. But this is a deployment area. But the Marines can come back and immediately jump into the shower and all of that. So this may not be an armory. This might be like a clothes reprocessing unit, or I don't know how I feel. They're basing the Space Force off of the Air Force. That's not really what I thought they would do. You know, I was like, I thought you guys would do something other than that, but I guess, hey, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes our military confuses me. I don't know what they're thinking. All right, so up here in the flight cockpit, I'm going to design it completely different when we get up there. Now, I want my hallways to be 2 meters, and so I actually don't have a problem with cantering this hallway. This is just this is a graphic that I borrowed from the Star Trek FASA game. And so I don't mind. I'm going to draw something else in here to be gravity control. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, I kind of feel like, yeah, it should be, like it should be Navy ships. I mean, maybe that's because I'm an old school Trekkie and I feel like, Star Trek was Navy because Gene Roddenberry was Navy. Maybe, I don't know. Okay, so the front section right through here is detachable. And it's detachable because this gravity control system can run out of control and needs to be destroyed if it ever runs out of control. So it's the equivalent of Star Trek ejecting the warp core up there in the front. The engines are detachable. There's no lifeboats really on this ship. So the idea is it ejects all the things that are dangerous and pushes them away, leaving just the center section with life support running. And then you come over and pick up the center section and put it in a shuttle bay somewhere. But I need to put space normal doors through this cutoff section. And I've got to figure out where that cutoff section is. And I think I arbitrarily put it there, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it shouldn't be. It should be here or right here. So I think this is the line. Because this is all just stuff I stuck in there. I'm going to do different stuff, so it doesn't really matter. But if I put it at this line right here, then it matches the lines on the outside of the ship. So I'll have to put this back up at 8. And we will put that in. Undo, because that's not level. There we go. None of those are level. Follow my instincts here. There we go. And now what we've got is the separating section. So these would be really cool doors because they'll jump, and you walk through, and they lock down. Which means on the after side here, they can be straight. They can be straight this way. Doesn't have to be. Do 3. And then we'll go back to here. Oh, man. Go back to here. And then I will actually just do this. And these will be explosive controls right through here to blow out the doors if you need to. Birds are really singing out there. I mean, I don't mean to rub it in because I know you're heading into winter down there. But, we're heading into spring up here, so birds are singing. There we go. That feels a little bit better. This entire front section now can separate. It also now has a very phallic feel. That's great. Wasn't intentional, but, hey, whatever. So, but now I feel like I've got the ability to put like launching equipment and things like that. So this should be an auxiliary engine right over here. Kind of matching the hallway. Another auxiliary engine right here. Which we could work on propellant. My other thought was that this gives an opportunity for a story. I mean, what happens when you disconnect the hammerhead and in the middle of a fight and everybody thinks that the people on the hammerhead are dead, but they're not. Now you have castaways in this hammerhead and they're trying to rewire these little engines on either side so that the engines will fire so that they can start moving around, to give implication or indication because they got no radio communication or whatever. So it has the ability to give us some drama if we really need to. That'd be kind of cool. Quite literally, this is a vehicle for drama. I mean, that's literally what we're doing here. All right, pressure doors in. And these guys, double doors for sealing either direction. There you go. And we should put in the very thick doors here, but we're not going to because reasons. No, we're not. We're going to do this. This is a docking door, so this docking airlock will be more, right? That was my thought, was that once we've built it, we can start talking about what's happening here, what's going on in this ship, what's happening. And then when I run out of the 15 extra stories that I have for Tamerlane, I can just start looking around the ship and saying, what else do we have, right? What else can we use here? What's another thing we can use? Another really small bathroom. Very entertaining. I like the little small bathrooms. Maybe we'll keep them. And then the enlisted. The enlisted all live on this deck. Down to these sections right here. And this is right? So all of our enlisted live right here. Isn't that nice? And there's 4 to a room. So these are bunk beds in here. And I'll have to share because apparently enlisted abuse is a thing. I don't know. I just work here. So have like these zones right here, which open to windows on either side so that you can go out and look out a window. I want to be careful not to do that. I want to zoom in whenever I'm doing these. So Photoshop changed its line tool, and it's kind of flaky and weird. So I'm being kind of cautious how I use it. This is another one of those things that I'm sure has everybody grumbling. Yeah, and the Kittiwake is one of the few atmospheric capable spacecraft. They don't usually have atmospherically capable ships, so like the destroyer and larger the frigate, the destroyer, the light cruiser, heavy cruisers, those guys, they don't fly in atmospheres at all. But the Kittiwake's designed to be in the atmosphere, which means that everything's smaller and more compact, and you end up with things that will make officers mad, like the fact that in reality, their quarters are sort of semi-shared with the enlisted in a lot of ways. Because these are enlisted, but these down here going further south, these are officers' quarters. And so I am sure that they grumble a lot about the fact that they have to share quarters with the enlisted guys. We always have to share quarters with the enlisted on the enlisted deck. I mean, at least they get their own quarters. So, I guess they can't gripe too much because at one point in time. One of the guys that usually is on the show, but I think he's working now today, is a Marine, a U.S. Marine. And so he's been on here. And another guy that's usually on here is ex-Navy. And so they've been helping me kind of build the culture. And one of the things that we were like, if we could fix the military, if that was even possible, if we could fix the military, what would we do? Right? And one of the things that we kind of discussed was that enlisted folks were sort of the folks who were just joining the military for the benefits, or the low enlisted guys were just there for the benefits, and they were trying to do their 10 years and out, or 5 years and out, or whatever. They're just there for the money, so to speak. But then you move up to the upper enlisted, and what you have there is the people who are like, no, maybe I'm just going to make my life career out of this. So they do, and once those guys are careers, sometimes those guys just pop right over to officer. So a lot of the officers on this ship likely were once enlisted. So they may have already been, in I'm going to make this uniform. So let's do it this way. Rather than doing it this way, I'm going to go the other direction. So the point is that it's, even though these guys gripe about the fact that they're next to the enlisted guys, they probably once were enlisted. There we go. So that gives me 4 offices, and they're all shaped the same way, which is good because there's the transfer tube, and we want to be careful with the transfer tube. Not to get too tangled up with that transfer tube. There we go. Almost got it straight. There we go. Wow, it does seem like it's just wobbling all over the place. I'm just saying, Photoshop. Really? Okay. Here's our showers. One of the big things that I want to sort of address is that 500 years from now, people won't have the same body shame problems we do today. It's my hope for the world thing. So, communal showers, nobody cares. You know, we just all use the same showers. Captain gets a bathtub, but, you know, it's because she's sort of a bathtub sort. And so it's definitely one of those things I'm hoping, hope for the future here. So in the crew showers, I want to make sure I erase this section right here. We're just showers together and nobody cares. A la, like we had said before, Starship Troopers. One of the best parts of Starship Troopers was that concept. They'd all just be in the showers because they're military and they got nothing better to do. I love that part. Because I feel like that's realistic. At some point in time, we're going to have to get over our prudish weirdness. It's not really healthy for us, I don't think. Ooh, right. There we go. Okay, so I'm just putting in the interior walls for this at this point. So now we got to go to port and starboard. There's VIP quarters. Probably could put 4 VIP quarters in. I don't know. These should be multi-purpose space, I think. So we'll put that up there. Let's be on the line. There we go. Because this goes all the way aft to there. Yep. I mean, I also don't expect that in general people will be overweight in the future, because I feel like weight and overweight is a function of sort of a runaway corporate structure. People are overweight because everything has sugar in it, and sugar makes you fat. I say this being someone who's had way too much sugar in their lifetime. But my wife is really big on health and things like that, and she's found sugar in things that she would never have expected to find sugar in. And that's one of her big pet peeves, is that even when you try to stay away from sugars, you can't, because manufacturers have put sugar in everything. So I feel like the future, we'd get over that. You know what I mean? You wouldn't, especially since in Bellatrix Rising, we had a catastrophe that wiped out almost all of the human race, and the humans had to be evac'd, and they had to be rescued. And when they were rescued, they were they were struggling to survive for a while. And so I think they would get over sort of bizarre little petty corporate things where, you put sugar in everything to get people to buy more product. So I don't think there will be overweight people, but that's not because I'm looking for beautiful physiques. I just think that we'll be done with it. It'll be over. I think given a choice, we humans would want to stay healthy and stay, and not overeat and stuff. I know I would, given a choice. And I feel kind of like I'm being manipulated by all the sugar that's put into our food, Mm-hmm. Right? Exactly. I mean, oh man. And not only that, you're a pediatric dentist. Oof. I feel for you. I have an 11-year-old. This is why I'm saying that. Trying to get him to brush his teeth. Ever. And I'm not even talking about flossing or mouthwash or anything like that. I'm just talking about just brush his teeth. It's like the fight of the century every night. So, and you have to deal with it whenever I mess up as a parent. So I truly feel for you. Truly feel for you. And apologize for all of us parents who do not do our jobs like we're supposed to. So, but you and my doctor are both on the same page. My doctor has been on me for getting out of sugars and things like that. And that's actually, my coffee is just coffee. I don't put any sugar. I don't put any water. It's just coffee. I like it cold, but, so I'll put ice cubes in it and then put the coffee in, but it's just coffee. And same with my tea. I used to drink soda like it was going out of style. And that's part of the reason why I'm overweight now, is because too much soda. And I get that. But, and I've got no one to blame but me, certainly. But yeah, I used to drink soda a lot. And it's hard once you've gotten into that habit. It's very hard to break it. I can't believe that there's sugar in medicine. That's just so. Calm blue ocean. Calm blue. And what are we doing to our people? It's to our own people. I gotta go to starboard side VIP quarters. Starboard side, whatever is forward of VIP. All right. Now we can check this by bringing this back up and just see what we've got going for us at this point in time, right? Take the labels out. It looks much cleaner on this version of the deck plans now. I mean, it's nicer and straighter, and all the pieces are nice and straight. And you can really clearly see space-capable walls and not space-capable. Yeah, I'm noticing that as well, because like I said, mine's 11, and he's just now getting the ability to make circles. So you're right. I think he's, he had a point where he just didn't have the motor skills. And the best he could do was just kind of stick his toothbrush in and just shake it a lot. We all do like to use motorized toothbrushes now because they're fun. And at least that makes toothbrushing more entertaining. I don't know. But it does kind of feel nice on your gums. I mean, really, motorized toothbrushes going me is kind of fun on your gums. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I agree with you, his motor skills. He just didn't have the motor skills, the fine motor skills to do it. So, and one of the weird things, I have like misplaced bottom teeth. My bottom teeth are kind of, I probably should have gotten braces, but now I'm pushing 50 and they don't bother me and they don't interrupt the bite. And there's, so it's just a little weird. But since I was a teenager, I had taken the toothbrush and brushed this way along those teeth because they were all kind of weird. And recently I went to my dentist and she's got a poster that says brush this way. And I was like, nobody told me to do that, but I did it. Back in the day, I was doing that. So you'll be proud of me. I brushed the backs of my teeth, and I do the tops of my teeth, obviously, as well. That same way. Okay, so sick bay has 6 beds, and I think I'm just going to make this one big theater with access forward. So this is the operating theater, and it only has 1 bed. I have 2 up here, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of, thanks, goofball. The more I think about it, the more I kind of want, like, the operating theater to be isolated. So over in this section, kind of operating theater, and you can go this way to get into this forward area. Yes. Flossing. Another thing it's a war. It's a war. I tell you, it's a war. It's a battle with him to get him to floss. However, we've got those little reachers now that, are shaped kind of like this and then have a small piece of string there. And that's much easier for him, and it doesn't make him gag. So he likes that one a whole lot better. And at least that gets him doing the job, which is important. Okay, forward bulkhead here, we're going to have the Chief Medical Officer's office. Everything is off center up here. Why is everything off center? Looks like this deck is not aligned to the center. That's uncomfortable. So what I will do is this. I feel like that's not going to work like I want it to. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and just use the old lines for this. Yeah, my wife just got done with braces. She's younger than me. Not by a lot, though. I mean, but yeah, there's no reason to go for braces at this point in time. I'm good. I already know how to floss all those teeth. We're fine. So it's fine. I agree with you. There's no reason to floss at this point in time. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about deck plans. There's always a reason to floss. There's no reason for braces. I was thinking the CMO here, he's like literally sitting in front of the bathroom. sure that makes him happy. Every day he's like, flush. Okay, so I'm seeing the angles outward like this, kind of continuing on with this angle to this wall. So I'm going to put that wall. So there we go. Always interests me that the Navy, if you've got dental problems on the smaller ships, Navy just sends you to the CMO. And they don't have a dentist on board. I mean, bigger ships have dentists on board, but the little ships don't. Everything goes to the chief medical officer, which I find fascinating because I was just thinking about that too. I'm like, no dentist here. He's CMO. Let's go see the doc. There we go. Right? Yeah, like, I have to tell you this very important thing. Flush. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is very serious that we have to flush. Ghost Hand, you and I are like 12. You know that, right? We're like 12. It's just, that's the way it is. All right. And these are officer offices. Entertained. I guess I should say they're actually department head offices, but officer offices is funnier. All right. Coming around here. So this is the captain's office. This is a bridge armory right here. And this is a secondary armory, which is right outside the door of the bridge. The captain's office, she gets her own little bathroom, including a tub. She gets a tub. So it's the only tub on the ship. And she gets it because she's the captain. And by gum, she gets a tub. I'm going to open this area up more by putting this forward because we've got to hold. Yep. And I know that there have been times where you'll have, somebody has a real dental emergency and they'll airlift them to the carrier. I've heard stories. I've got a buddy who was a submariner, and I've got another buddy who was stationed aboard a carrier. I've heard stories about, well, guess we're going to have to surface and ship Bob over to the carrier, Don't want to stub your toe on that wall there. All right. That's B deck. A deck's almost complete, but B deck looks like it's close. C deck has a lot of stuff going on that, we still have to go back in and work on, but we can get there. So kind of curious because you can see your own posts right here. I'm kind of curious as to whether, what the turnaround is from the time that you type it, from the time you hear me say it, from the time that you type it to the time that it shows up there. And I wonder what the round trip is, especially from Twitch. Sometimes I've seen Twitch have some really good response times. A lot of people come in from Facebook, and then the response time there can be sometimes really slow, dramatically so. All right. Now that we have done this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to have to put in doors because like all the doors need to be put in now. That's right. I'll head over to D deck, forward. I'll go up here. We'll put in doors. All right. We'll put in a door going into this room because this is sort of like the decontamination room. Well, I had a tooth over here at a molar that did that. And I've got a very high tolerance for pain. So I didn't know it was a problem. And it was infected and I didn't feel it. And I went in for a routine checkup and they did the FMX. And when they did, they saw it and they were like, because there's that nerve, whatever. It was very close to that canal right there on the jaw. And they were like, you really are in danger and you didn't know it. And I'm like, I didn't feel anything. It was really scary. I didn't know I was in trouble. And so, yeah, it was like, that was rough. So we're going to give the brig a door and a door. And then a door here, I think. And I was worried about that tooth. All right. I think these guys' door was in the right spot. We're going to have to move up on C deck. C deck, we've got some doors that need to move around. But I think they're probably okay. I am going to go back in here, though, and there's this sort of, I wouldn't say it's a crossbar per se. We could go on for a long time about medical care in the United States, but needless to say, it probably went on way too long because it's expensive to go to the dentist here. So, and like I said, we could probably go on for ages about medical care here, but that's okay. We're not going to. Calm blue ocean. Calm blue ocean. All right. Sometimes on Fridays, we have Raphael and Colton and Pepper all here, and we'll get into these discussions, and then it's like we're really deep into the discussions and stuff like that. So I try not to do them on my normal show because I know that there's an odd chance or an off chance that it's probably going to happen anyway. And so odds are good that one of them is going to bring up something. So I don't mind talking about it. I just don't want my show to end up being, that's all we do is just yammer on about this. Okay, so this is a space normal door, so I'm making it bigger so that it can come in and slide it to the sides so that you can pull it closed. I feel like all space normal doors should be like aircraft doors, except in reverse. Aircraft doors are set beveled so that in case for some reason you didn't seal it properly, the pressure of the aircraft will push the door out and then the bevel sticks and that keeps the door from escaping. On the same token, I think our space normal doors, which will be beveled not this direction, they'd be beveled this direction, right? Because then they press this way, except you don't want them pressed that way. You want them going the other direction because you want them going like this, because the pressure vessel is here. So probably what happens is this door pulls in and slides sideways, or even better, pulls to the side here. And then all it needs is once the pressure hits a certain threshold, it just needs a small motor to push it. And then by then, the pressure will lock it shut and push it closed. So we'll bevel them that way, and that'll make it much more reasonable. And then that way the cargo bay can completely depressurize and it won't affect the marine area up here. All right, moving on to deck C forward. We've already done our pressure vessels there. And they look like they're going the wrong direction naturally. But we'll go first up here to the cockpit and forward control. We only have about 6 minutes remaining in the show. And what I'll do is I'll put a halt to this and then we'll come back to it. I'll put in all of the rest of this. By the way, there is a reason I do this. And that is for my comic, I build everything in 3D. So like this is an actual 3D model that's rendered out of Daz Studio. And this is what it looks like. This is exactly the way it looks. And I probably should go in here at some point and like do something to it. Like a couple of things probably could stand to have, like the dome could be clearer. You know what I mean? But for the most part, it doesn't do a bad job 3D rendering like this. It does a pretty good job just as it stands. So yes, it does contain like a warp drive. It has a space normal drive, which projects, they've got gravity control. So since they have gravity control, my thought process was, if you've got control of gravity, you can project gravity. So what they do is they project effectively a gravity well directly in front of the ship. The ship falls towards the gravity well, and since the ship is moving, the gravity well moves with it. So it projects the gravity well, falls towards it, and then projects the gravity well, and then falls towards it, and then projects the gravity well. So it's, as far as the ship is concerned, they can accelerate at really high speeds without anybody being crushed or anything like that, because they're always falling. So it doesn't change. You don't need to worry about, people getting pressed into their seats as we accelerate and stuff like that. And you can project that gravity well anywhere. So to stop, you project the gravity well behind. And when you do, the ship just slows down. So there's that. But then it goes into a hyperspace. And when it does, the rules of space change. And so we end up with, here, I'll show you, because we were just working on this. And it's probably in the design booklet. Story overview, world building, fourth area technology, I have a lot of stuff that I've been working on here. But when you use the space normal projecting a gravity well, you have to watch out for gravity shadows, which is where a ship generates a shadow. So you have to be careful not to generate a shadow between a planet and its satellite, because you could change the orbit of the satellite depending on how big of a shadow you're generating. So anyway, stuff like that. There's like all these pieces that we need that I've got these rules for how this works. I had just built, I can't read on this monitor. Hang on, I'm going to switch to this monitor so I can read it. Because we just did, I just did this entire illustration on how in space works when they're in the null space. And I just need to find it. And it's a long road getting from there to here. It's a little harder than I thought to find it. I don't remember where I put it. Anyway, the idea is that when you talk about stars, all stars have sort of, they have a limit. It's called the Schwarzschild radius. And that's the, I will see you next time. If you come in tomorrow at this time, it's my time to leave too, because it's 11 o'clock and I'm usually done by 11. But if you show up tomorrow, we will have other artists here and we all talk about what we did for the week and things like that. And we get Pepper back. So I hope to see you again. Have fun and have a good day and stuff. So anyway, I actually think it's my time to go as well, because it's 11 a.m. and it's time for lunch, folks. Time for lunch. So I'm going to go ahead and head to lunch, and you guys can see me tomorrow at the same time, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, which is like, 1 p.m. Brazilian time. And for that matter, while we're at it, it is 11 p.m. Japanese time, just so you're aware. So anyway, I will see you all later. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, as always, keep your eyes on the stars. Bye. Computer, good night.